Okay, Assalamualaikum and hi, I'm Shahira binti Mak Nizam as a last presenter in this group presentation. So this is the last topic, but I will continue from the Aisyah part, which is in designing and implementing effective group work. So actually there are 8 main points, so I will proceed with the 4 points more. And the 5th point is to ensure individual accountability. The 6th point is to teach students to cooperate. And 7 is monitor learning, involvement and cooperative behavior. And the last point is to think about what to do when a student doesn't want to join a group. So if you want to know, let me start with the next slide. Okay, the 5th point, which is to ensure individual accountability. So what it is the meaning of the individual accountability? Okay, individual accountability is the second essential feature of the cooperative learning, and it is one that teachers most often neglect. So this is the important part, which is the teacher should not to take note about this thing. Not really understand, right? Okay, I will explain to you in my words. Okay, individual accountability. So as you know that in the group we have a group working, right? So there is sometimes even in a group there is sometimes the person doesn't understand, even though there are 5 people in a group, but maybe one of the students are not really understand what they learn that day. So how to ensure this individual accountability even though they are in a group? So how the teacher want to identify their individual accountability even though they still in a grouping? So the first thing I come out here, okay, the teacher can require students to take individual tests on the material and receive individual grades, even though they are in the grouping working, but the teacher can still proceed this assessment to know whether they understand or not what the lesson learned in that day. And the second is teacher can have each student complete an identifiable part of the total group project. And the third is teacher can call on 1 or 2 students from each group to answer a question, explain the group's reasoning, or provide a demonstration. So from this, the teacher can identify whether the student is really understand or not. Okay? So we go for the example. What happened to teacher Sandy? Okay, here the teacher Sandy, I will explain to you about teacher Sandy, how she conduct her student. So in one morning in May, we watched Sandy explain the student were going to be working on understanding the idea of equilibrium. So today, teacher Sandy will explain to students about the ideas of equilibrium. So what Sandy do? Okay, teacher Sandy divided the class into groups of 3, explained the task and reminded students that they needed to work together to discover the operative principle. So from here, the teacher Sandy reminded the student what they need to do in order to work together. And before she allowed them to begin work, she stressed that a group should not consider itself through until all group members understood, because everyone would eventually be taking an individual quiz. So from this, teacher Sandy stressed her student that everyone in the group must to understand what the topic they have learn, because they will be taking an individual quiz. So in other words, Sandy made it very clear that every student would be accountable for explaining the process of equilibrium. We go for the next point, which is the sixth point, is to teach students to cooperate. Okay, in this point, as a classroom teacher, it is our responsibility to teach students to work together, right? So this is not a simple process. Students do not learn to cooperate in one 45-minute lesson. So this is very take time. Indeed, we can think about the process in terms of 3 stages. So there are 3 stages, which is the first stages is value cooperation. Second stages is developing group skills. The third stage is evaluation. So let's we go through one by one. Okay, we will go for the first stage, which is value cooperation. Okay, before students can work together productively, the student must to understand the value of cooperation. So what is the value of cooperation? So here, I provide you with an example. And if you don't understand, I will explain to you more by a storytelling. Okay? Okay, the example is, in the lab session, the students need to carry out the experiment without procedure provided. And the task given need to proceed by individual. If the student success, so they will get 5 extra points as a reward. So, do you not understand? Okay, I will tell to you a story, but I didn't state here. Okay, one day, I tell the kids that they are to solve a particular chemical problem, okay? They need to solve a particular chemical problem. And they should go to the lab tables and get started. But they look at me as if I'm a crazy. They say, "But Miss Shahira, you didn't tell us what procedure to use." I tell to them that I forgot to write out the procedure for them. I say, "Let's see if you can come up with the procedure. If you can come up with the procedure, I will give you 5 extra marks if you can." And they all start out working alone without any grouping. They all start out working alone. They want those 5 points for themselves. You can see that, right? But as the period goes on, they begin to work in groups. Why? Why they start to begin work in group? Because they realize that they need each other, that they can really help one another, and they don't care about the points anymore. At the end of the period, I say to them, "Let's talk about what happened here. Why did you start out by yourself?" They tell me, "I wanted the 5 points, but I had to ask for help because I did not know enough." We'll talk about how helpful it is to work together when you are learning something new, and how the points doesn't matter. So as you can see here, based on what I story to you, the student will started to realize that working in group is really important and helpful in order to finding out a new ideas. Okay, and then for the value cooperation also, we have a second step, which is it is often helpful if we have engaged them in a non-academic activity designed to build a team identity and to foster a sense of the group cohesion. For an example, I think most of us already know about this. For example, is a create banner or poster, or create a group name and logo. So this situation also can be relate when have association activities. such as camping, leadership camp, and also the others. So actually in this camp also they use this step in a small group. So based on this activity, by creating the banner or the poster, create a group name and logo, also can build the value of cooperation between among the group members. Okay, next we will go for the second stage, which is the group skills training. So what we need to do in a group skills training? Okay, in a group skills training, the first thing is we need to introducing simple norms for group work, which is it can give the students helpful guidelines for what is expected of them. Okay, so how we want the student to apply this skill? Okay, let me see here. Okay, how the student want to apply the skill is by asking the peers for the assistance. Second, help one another, explain the material to other students, check that they understand, provide support, and also listen to your peers. Okay, and then and then the second is by explaining to the student that they will be learning a skill necessary for working in groups, such as using a T chart. Okay, using a T chart, which is you list the skill and then with the class and record the ideas what the skill would look like and what it would sound like. And the T chart is for the encouraging participation. Okay, and the last step is the teacher need to provide opportunities for the students to practice the skill and to receive feedback. Okay, so what is the example for this point, which is such as a role play. So you might have the students role play, pair the skill with a familiar academic task so that the student can focus their attention on using the social skill, or have the student engage in exercises designed to teach particular skills. So with that, we realize that actually role play give the opportunities to students to apply the skill and to improve their skill, whether in a soft skill and also the other skill. The last stages, which is the evaluation. So in this evaluation, to learn from their experiences, the student need the chances to discuss what happened and to discuss and to evaluate how successful they were in working together. This is especially important when the norms for group work are first being established. So how we want to proceed with this evaluation is after individual groups have talked about the experiences, maybe you might want to have them report to the whole class what they have done during the session. Okay, such as we encourage the groups to share and compare their experiences by asking, did your group have a similar problem? Or how many groups agree with the way they solve their problem? Or what do you recommend? So from this, the student will notice and learn where their strength and weakness, the contribution, and what areas they need to improve. For the 7th point, which is monitor learning involvement and cooperative behavior. Okay, in generally, teacher intervention were beneficial to the group, which is the student were more likely to be on task after an intervention from the teacher than before, and were more likely to recognize their errors, develop new ideas, and also explain ideas to one another. And besides that, also the teacher also can build in the progress checkpoints. Okay, which means the teacher can ask the student to report on what they had accomplished and what problems they were having. Okay, And it also similar with by divide the large in assignments into components that are due every few days, and this is allow the teacher to keep track of how well groups are functioning. So okay, we go for the last point, which is think about what to do when a student doesn't want to join a group. So teacher, what we need to do when the student doesn't want to join a group? So the first thing is we must to assuming that the group work is meaningful and that student participation is very important. Why I said that student participation is very important? Okay, actually it depends on the student. Why he or she doesn't want to work in the group? Maybe if I assign him to a group in which there is someone who bullies him, or a girl who has just rejected him, so maybe there is another problem why they doesn't want to participate in this grouping work. Maybe they have their own problem. Maybe it's because of the bullies or the student itself being uncooperative, and this is put on the teachers how to work together with their parents and need to figure out how to handle this situation. And the next is teacher need to talk about the need to change group composition on a regular basis so that students then does not feel stuck with people they don't particularly like. Okay, in this situation, the teacher need to announce ahead of time how long the groups will be together. It's actually depending on the activity. If the group can last for, maybe the group can last for the 15 minutes or for 4 or 5 weeks. But if in any case the student know the group is temporary, and this will help them to accept what is perhaps an unappealing situation. Okay, next, which is the teachers continually emphasize the importance of learning to work with many different types of people. Why? This is very important of learning to work with many different types of people. As you know, when we in a group, we will we will grouping with the other people. Sometimes maybe we didn't even know, we will even know who is our friend, so it maybe come from the different types of people. And actually what the teacher need to emphasize here is sometimes it's a lot easier just to allow the student not to join a group, but a part of education is developing the social skills. We need the teacher want to highlight here is about the social skills. It's very important because the part of the education is developing the social skills needed to work with a variety of people, such as when we go for working someday in the future, maybe we have a job and we also must face with the different type of people, right? So the teacher need to stress that these are essential skills not just for schools but also for our life. And the last point is allow the students to optional out of a group activity if their reasoning was valid and if the activity did not require their participation. So the teacher also can give a flexible the teacher need to flexible also, because there are sometimes students just feel like working alone. Maybe they had a bad day, or there's a problem at home, or they also think that they had get more done working by individually. So if in these cases like this, we cannot forcing them. So we cannot forcing them to work in a group because it can seems counterproductive. So as a conclusion, by this group is this example illustrate the need for teachers to acquire an understanding of the intricacies of group work in general and cooperative learning in particular. We hope that this chapter has sensitized us to some of the problems that can arise and has provided some strategies for minimizing this problem. So that's all from us. Thank you.